Hey, for refusing to cancel my wedding after my parents disowned me over my sister? My parents asked me to pause college so as not to hurt my sister. Not forever, they said, just one semester, maybe a year until she felt better. I refused. And from that day on, they stopped treating me as part of the family. Years later, they said they wanted to fix things. I wanted to believe them, but when Vanessa got into trouble again, they asked me once more to be the one to step aside. I had just finished the third year of my degree at Texas A&M University in College Station. My plan was to work all summer at the coffee shop where I had been since freshman year, and save up before going back to classes. My degree program was 4 years long, so I was already close to the end. The scholarship covered tuition, but not rent, food, transportation, or supplies. Between my salary and tips, I could barely make ends meet if I did not stick strictly to the budget. My parents had made it clear to me even before I started college that the family savings were for Vanessa, my younger sister. Not for me. There was never extra money in our house, but when it came to Vanessa, some way to solve it always appeared, so I did what I could. I studied, asked for recommendation letters, filled out applications, went to interviews, and got a full scholarship. I did not experience it as something heroic. Most of the time I was just tired. That morning I was counting the tips from the first shift when I saw my mom's name on the screen. Diane. Surprised me. We spoke once or twice a year if we were lucky. In my house, Vanessa had always been the one who needed help, patience, or a second chance. She debuted new clothes while I wore whatever a cousin left behind. She was given a used car when she turned 18. I got local buses and the occasional rideshare. They remodeled her room. Mine kept the dull green walls that I never liked for years. I answered with my hand still smelling like coffee. Rebecca, I need you to come to the house this summer, my mom said. She did not even ask how I was. I cannot, Mom. I already have a job. I need the money. It is important. We really need you to come. That made me look up. My parents almost never needed me for anything. That was what Vanessa was for. The daughter they protected from everything. Even if every problem of hers ended up resting on someone else's shoulders. What happened? Is someone sick? We will explain it to you when you get here. Please, Rebecca, come. There was something strange in her voice. Exhaustion, worry, I do not know. It made me curious, and although it is hard to admit, also a little hopeful. I thought maybe they wanted to see me, that maybe they remembered they had another daughter too, so I said yes. I left after the morning shift with my backpack half-packed and my head full of doubts. Between getting my things, waiting for the bus, leaving College Station, arriving at the bus station in Dallas, and the trip to Mesquite, almost 4 hours went by. It was not rush hour, but there was already outbound traffic. By the time I arrived, evening was falling. It was hot. One of those heavy days when it looks like it is going to rain, but it never does. On the way, I remembered Vanessa's high school graduation the month before. I was not invited, even though I had asked my mom if they wanted me to go. She is going to do something small, just family, she told me, and I did not insist anymore. It hurt me, but it did not surprise me. Over time, I understood that when they said family, many times they were not counting me. I also thought about old things. Vanessa breaking my mom's favorite vase and saying I had pushed her. Vanessa failing the practical driving test several times and my dad blaming me because I did not even have a car to teach her. But what weighed on me the most was my own high school graduation. That day, Vanessa had a dance recital. My parents went to see her. I walked out of the ceremony, saw other families hugging their kids, and then I left alone. At night, they told me they would make it up to me later. Never happened. Even so, that call sounded different. Maybe Vanessa had done something serious. Maybe my parents wanted to apologize. Maybe someone was sick. When I got to the house in Mesquite, the street looked the same. Tired facades, broken sidewalks, cars passing by the nearby avenue. I knocked on the door. I used to go in unannounced. But it had been almost a year since my last visit, and I no longer knew if I was still welcome. My dad, Richard, opened the door with a smile. That was already strange. I walked in and felt the tension in the living room. Vanessa was on the couch with red eyes. My mom was pacing back and forth. My dad closed the door slowly. Well, what happened? I asked, leaving my backpack by the entrance. My parents looked at each other. It was obvious they had already talked about it before I arrived. We will discuss it at dinner, my dad said. Are you hungry? Your mom made her special lasagna. That should have alerted me. My mom almost never made my favorite food. Vanessa's, yes, mine only when it was convenient. But I came in tired, hungry, and I still wanted to believe that this time was different. We sat down to dinner as if we were a normal family. Vanessa barely touched her food. My mom watched her the whole time. My dad ate slowly. Serious, everything felt staged. I already said it. I finally spoke. Can someone tell me what is going on? My mom put down her fork, looked at my dad, and he nodded. Well, she started. You know Vanessa graduated from high school. Yes, I said. Congratulations. Vanessa did not answer. The problem, my dad continued, is that she has had difficulties with college. I waited. What difficulties? She did not get the GPA for the scholarship she wanted, my mom said, and she did not want to consider other options. Vanessa looked up, annoyed. It was not like that. It is just that they have absurd requirements. I clenched my jaw. Vanessa had barely finished high school. I remembered when my mom called me during my freshman year because Vanessa was failing 3 subjects. They paid for tutoring and counseling. I always suspected my dad talked to more than one teacher to give her the chance to turn things in late. Can she try another college? I said carefully. Or look for another program. Vanessa looked at me as if I had insulted her. I do not want to get into just any school, just for the sake of getting in. There I recognized the usual Vanessa, the one who could say something hurtful and then cry because they made her feel bad. And what does this have to do with me? I asked. I am sorry you are going through this, Vanessa, but I do not understand why you made me come. My parents looked at each other again. My mom took a breath. Vanessa is doing very badly. She is going to a therapist. The therapist says she compares herself a lot to you, that she feels she is falling behind. With me. You are already in college, my dad said. You are already advanced. She feels like she failed. I looked at the 3 of them. Vanessa looked down at her plate. I still do not understand what you expect from me, I said. My mom spoke more slowly. The therapist did not say this, but your dad and I think you could take a semester off, lower your course load, pause for a bit. I thought I had not understood. Pause college. Not drop out, my dad said quickly. Just take some time. Whatever it takes for Vanessa to settle down and not feel like she is competing with you. I stayed quiet. I waited for one of them to realize what they had just said. No one did. Vanessa even nodded. Are you listening to yourselves? I asked. Rebecca, do not look at it as a punishment, my mom said. It is about your sister, about family. You are asking me to put my degree on hold because it hurts Vanessa that I am still studying. Just 1 semester, my dad insisted. I have a scholarship, I said, trying not to raise my voice. A full ride. It is not just stopping for a few months and coming back as if nothing happened. If I drop out or drop classes without authorization, I can lose it. We know it would be a sacrifice, my mom said. It is not a sacrifice, it is throwing away what I worked so hard to build. When you were saving money for Vanessa, I was figuring out how to pay for my own life. While she went out, I studied and worked. Vanessa finally spoke. You always make it seem like you are better than everyone else. I am not saying I am better, I am saying I had to figure it out by myself. Look, Dad, when I was 17 you told me you were not going to pay for my college. It hurt. But I accepted it. I got a scholarship and a job, and now you want me to risk it for this. She is your sister, my dad said. And I am also your daughter. The table fell silent. Vanessa started to cry harder. That is exactly what I mean, she muttered. I am doing terribly and you only talk about yourself. Supporting you cannot mean I ruin my career. You are not ruining anything, my mom said. You are just thinking about someone else. A short, nervous laugh escaped me. When have you ever thought about me? When have you asked me what I wanted? We are asking you right now, my dad said. No, you already decided what you want. You are waiting for me to obey. I stood up. My face felt hot and my hands were shaking. I need to think. My mom pressed her lips together. Rebecca, please do not start. And if I say no, my dad's face changed. He got serious in a way I knew well. Then do not expect things to stay the same with us. It did not surprise me as much as it should have. In that house, the rule had always been similar. If Vanessa needed something, I had to accommodate her. I took a deep breath. I am not going to leave college. Vanessa cried harder. My mom looked at me as if I had done something cruel. My dad shook his head. Then it would be best if you leave, he said. Okay, I replied. I am leaving. I went up to my room to pack my things. While I was stuffing clothes into my backpack, I could hear my parents comforting Vanessa downstairs. As always, I was the bad guy for not giving her what she wanted. Closing the backpack brought back old scenes. Vanessa wanting my room. Vanessa asking for my money after crashing her car. My parents telling me to understand, to be mature, to give in. I left the house without looking back. The station was not close, so I walked to the main avenue and took public transit. I made the trip back in stages however I could, local transit, another bus. It was night by the time I could finally breathe calmly. With every transfer I calmed down a little, although my hands were still shaking. My cell phone vibrated with messages from my mom. I did not read them. The rest of the summer I buried myself in work. I picked up extra shifts, covered for anyone who asked, worked doubles when possible. When I got too tired, I thought about the scholarship and my dad telling me that if I did not obey, maybe there was no place for me anymore. I did not hear from them for weeks. Then months, not a single call to see how I was, not a message that was not a complaint, as if by saying no I had ceased to exist. I went back to classes with a clarity I did not have before. If I wanted to get ahead, I was going to have to do it alone. I threw myself into my final semesters. I loaded up on subjects, accepted projects, looked for internships, talked to professors, and tried to finish as strongly as possible. I no longer had the energy to expect anything from my family. When I graduated, there was no one from my house in the auditorium. It hurt, but I kept going. I got a job at a company in the business park in Las Colinas, and accepted without a second thought. At first, I commuted a lot until I could move. I rented a small studio apartment in an older building in East Dallas. It was small, old, with no parking, little light, and a kitchen where barely one person fit. It was not cheap, but because it was a modest unit and somewhat rundown, I could afford it if I watched every expense. For me, it was enough. For the first time, no one told me what to do with my space, or how to arrange my things. I bought a used table, a decent mattress, and some simple curtains. The first night I sat on the floor. I ate whatever on a plastic plate and felt a strange peace. It was not much, but it was mine. Work absorbed me. I arrived early and left late because I wanted to prove I was worth hiring. After 6 months, they gave me more responsibilities and a small raise. Later came a promotion. I started earning better, although I still watched my money. That was where I met Michael from the marketing department. He was tall, dark-haired, with an easy smile. He had a laugh that lowered the tension in meetings without anyone noticing. At first, we only talked at the office, then we started eating together. Then, one Friday, he invited me to dinner. One night at a small Italian restaurant in East Dallas, he asked me, "And your family?" I looked down at my plate. "We are not close," I said. "I am sorry," he replied. He did not tell me that family was the most important thing, nor did he try to convince me to forgive anyone. He just let me change the subject. I appreciated that more than I could tell him. Years went by like that. Work, my apartment, Michael. A life that was coming together. I found out through Facebook that Vanessa had gotten married. The photos popped up because an aunt commented on a post. There she was in a huge dress surrounded by the whole family, with my mom and dad smiling on either side. I was not invited. It did not surprise me either. I closed the app and after a few minutes I blocked her profile. I did not need to see it. Sometime later, I learned through comments from relatives that Vanessa had moved to Houston with her husband, Derek. Then I heard she had had a child, then another very close in age. I did not ask. My Uncle James was one of the few who talked to me without pressuring me. And even he tried not to give me details if I did not ask for them. By the time my mom called me again, about 4 years had passed since that night in Mesquite. It was Tuesday afternoon. I saw the number and stayed still for a few seconds. Diane, I answered because I still did not know how to stop doing it. Hello, Rebecca. My mom's voice sounded lower. It is good that you answered. How are you? The question caught me off guard. I could not remember the last time someone from my house asked me that without needing something right after. Good, what happened? There was a short silence. Your dad and I have thought a lot, she said. We did not handle things well with you. I know we failed you. I said nothing. We should not have asked you to drop out of college. We should not have kicked you out of the house. We were wrong, Rebecca. Hearing that moved something inside me, but it also put me on alert. And this all of a sudden, why? Vanessa lives in Houston. We barely see her. The kids are over there and I do not know. I guess we realized we could lose you forever too. I did not know what to answer. Could you come visit us? She asked. Just to talk. We are not going to pressure you. I thought about hanging up. I really thought about it. But there was something in her voice that stopped me. Guilt, exhaustion, maybe both. And there was also that part of me that, despite everything, still wanted to have parents. I will think about it, I told her. A month later I went. I left my apartment early before the traffic built up. Even so, crossing over to Mesquite was never that fast. I arrived before lunch. The house looked the same, but my parents did not. My mom hugged me as soon as she opened the door. She squeezed me tight. You look very good, she said with her eyes full of tears. My dad looked older with new gray hair and a tired face. Thank you for coming, he told me. We sat down to eat. At first everything was awkward. Simple questions, silences, looks down at plates. Then my dad took a deep breath. I do not even know where to start, he said. But your mom and I know we failed you. My mom wiped her eyes with a napkin. We always asked you to understand your sister, and we did not see what we were doing to you. I stayed still. I did not want to cry right there. That does not get fixed with a meal, I said. We know, my dad replied. We do not expect you to forgive us today. We just wanted to start by saying it. Nothing was fixed that afternoon, but for the first time they named specific things. My high school graduation, the college money, the night they kicked me out. They did not say, if we made you feel bad. They said they did it wrong. It was different, even though it did not erase anything. They also talked to me about Vanessa. She already had 2 young children and lived in Houston with Derek, who worked at a tech company. They are doing well, my mom said. He earns well. She is with the kids. That is good, I answered without feeling much. And you? My dad asked. Are you seeing someone? I told them about Michael, my work, the apartment. They listened to me, asked questions, remembered details. It was obvious they were making an effort. That confused me more than any complaint. We would like to meet him someday, my mom said. Whenever you want, without pressuring you. I did not trust them again overnight. For months I waited for the hidden condition to appear, but they did not ask me for money. They did not ask me to call Vanessa. They did not complain about the distance. My dad called me once just to ask about a presentation at work. My mom started letting me know before inviting me, without assuming I was going to go. In my family, that was already a lot. After that, I started visiting them from time to time. Sometimes I went alone, other times with Michael. My parents seemed different. They asked me about work, remembered things I told them, and acted as if they really cared about what happened to me. I did not forget the past. I just started thinking that maybe people could change a little, even if it was late. The first time I saw Vanessa again was about a year later at my parents' house. She was visiting with Derek and the kids. The kids were a little restless. Vanessa looked exhausted, but happy to show pictures of her house in Houston. Derek had gotten another promotion, she shared. We are thinking of moving to a bigger house. That is great, I told her. She barely spoke to me, just enough to not look rude in front of everyone. Derek seemed nice, although he spent a good part of the visit answering work messages. You should come visit us, Vanessa told me when saying goodbye. We have space. Yes, we will see, I replied. We both knew it was not going to happen. For almost 2 more years, things remained calm. I saw my parents fairly regularly. They went to my apartment a couple of times. Michael and I ate with them some Sundays. We all acted as if the past did not get in the way so much anymore, although I never completely stopped seeing it. Michael and I had been together for several years when we decided to get married. There was no big scene. We talked about it one night in the kitchen while eating soup and it rained outside. We talked about the coming years and realized we were already building a life together. The ring came later. I called my mom the next day. Really? She said with an emotion that sounded sincere. Oh, Rebecca, what happiness. We want something small, simple, whatever makes you happy, honey. We are very happy for you. We started with the plans. We booked a small garden venue in the Dallas suburbs, picked a date, and sorted everything out little by little. It was not a huge or luxurious wedding, but for us it was a lot. We had already made deposits for the venue, the food, the photos, and some flowers. Since the wedding was right in the middle of the rainy season, the garden included a canopy. Michael's parents were excited. His siblings helped with ideas. My Uncle James called me to say that if I wanted, he could walk me down the aisle. I said yes. Everything was going well until one night. While I was writing addresses on envelopes on the dining room table, my phone rang. It was my mom. Rebecca, I need you to come to the house, she said without saying hello. I felt a pit in my stomach. There were tones of voice one does not forget. What happened? There is a problem with Vanessa. I stayed with the pen in my hand. What kind of problem? Come tomorrow. It is urgent. After those years of calm, I knew they were about to ask me for something. I did not know what, but I felt it. I will go tomorrow morning, I replied. Michael wanted to go with me, but I told him I preferred to go alone. I asked him to make progress on the wedding stuff and that I would tell him about it when I got back. I did not want him to suddenly see what my family was capable of doing. I left before 7 when you could still make some headway, although crossing to Mesquite was never fast. I was in a rideshare car looking out the window, running through possibilities. Sickness, debts, something with the kids, something with Derek. When I walked into the house, I felt something similar to that night during college. The atmosphere was heavy, gloomy. Vanessa was on the couch with swollen eyes. The kids were playing with some toy cars in a corner. They spoke softly, as if they already knew it was not a good idea to make noise that day. My mom was standing by the window, my dad sitting on a chair with his hands together. Now what happened? I asked, leaving my bag next to a chair. Vanessa looked up. She had that wounded expression I knew, but she also looked scared. Derek left, she said. He says the kids are not his. I sat down slowly. What do you mean they are not his? Vanessa started to cry. He asked for a DNA test. First it was something private. Then he got lawyers involved. He says he suspected for a long time because they do not look like him. I looked at her. She lowered her face. So, there had been some complications in the marriage? It is not that simple, she answered, annoyed, but her voice came out low. Rebecca, please, my mom said. My dad spoke wearily. Derek left the house a few months ago. Then the legal process started. The divorce is already underway. But the paternity issue remains complicated. The house in Houston was in his name. And while everything gets resolved, Vanessa came here for a few days with the kids because she has no permanent place to stay or enough money. I do not know what I am going to do, Vanessa said. I do not know. I looked at my parents, then at the kids. They kept moving the toy cars on the floor. I felt sad for them. None of this was their fault. And what do you need from me? I asked. My parents looked at each other before answering. I already knew that pause. Vanessa is going through something very heavy, my mom began. She is depressed. She is doing very badly. And we think that under these circumstances it would be good if you postponed the wedding. I stayed quiet. That you postpone your wedding just for a while, my dad said. Until things stabilize. Why would I do that? Because your sister is getting divorced, my mom said. She is destroyed. Seeing you get married right now could hit her harder. I looked at her. I suddenly felt the exhaustion more than the anger. You want me to move my wedding because Vanessa is doing badly due to her divorce. We are not telling you to cancel it, my dad said. Just change the date or do it later on, my mom added. When Vanessa is better. Vanessa wiped her face. I am not well, Rebecca. I do not know how I am going to sit there and pretend I can celebrate. I felt sorry seeing her like that, not as an innocent victim, but as someone who for the first time could not fix everything by crying. Even so, that did not mean I had to carry everything all over again. Vanessa, what you are experiencing is very difficult, I said. But it did not start with my wedding. She tightened her mouth. You do not know what I was going through. Maybe. But I do know you did something serious and now everyone wants me to accommodate myself around it. See, she told my parents. She does not care about me. I stood up. The whole scene was taking me back to a place I thought I had already left. We have lived this before, Mom. Before it was my degree, now it is my wedding. The problem changes. But in the end you always ask me to get out of the way. You are simplifying everything, my mom said. No, I am trying to understand why every time Vanessa gets into a problem, you end up asking me to yield. We are not asking you to lose, my mom answered. Just to understand that your sister is not well. My wedding is next month. There are people who already asked for days off. Bought tickets. Saved the date. We already made deposits. Michael's parents are organizing things. It is not moving a Sunday lunch. They will understand if you explain it to them, my dad said. I did not answer. I am not going to move my wedding. I am getting married next month as planned. But Vanessa is your sister, my mom insisted, and I am your daughter. But that only matters to you when you need me to do something. My dad's face hardened just like that night. If you decide to do it that way, do not expect us to go. I looked at him without moving. Then do not go, I said. Honestly, I do not want you to be there if you are going to look at me as the guilty one. Vanessa opened her eyes, offended. My mom stood frozen. I do not want to arrive at my wedding feeling like I have to apologize for doing well. I continued. I am tired of it. Rebecca, think about what you are saying, my mom said. I have been thinking about it for years. I no longer want to keep coming here just for you to ask me to yield. I grabbed my bag and walked toward the door. Rebecca, my mom yelled behind me. I did not turn around. I closed the door and stepped out onto the street with my heart racing. This time I did not cry, not in that moment. It hurt less than I expected, maybe because it was no longer a surprise. I realized that even though they were saying it differently now, they were putting me in the exact same place. Michael was waiting for me at the apartment when I got back. I told him everything about Vanessa, about Derek, the tests, the lawyers, and the request to postpone the wedding. He listened without interrupting me. When I finished, he stayed quiet for a moment. What they asked of you is not right, he said. And you do not have to carry that. I told them not to come. You did well. We do not need that. That day he hugged me in the kitchen next to the table full of half-written envelopes. That was when I cried. Not for the wedding, not for Vanessa. I cried because I had believed once again that my parents could see me without asking for something in return. The wedding was small, peaceful, with people who truly wanted to be with us. Michael's parents, his siblings, his grandparents were there. My Uncle James walked me down the aisle. Some cousins also went, who had known for years that my parents had never been fair to me. A couple of people asked about my parents and Vanessa. I just replied that they could not attend due to family matters. Hardly anyone insisted. Those who knew a bit of the story did not need details. During the ceremony, as I walked arm in arm with my uncle, I thought it was going to hurt seeing the chairs where my parents should have been. And it hurt a little, but it would have hurt more to have them there, looking at me as if my happiness were a lack of consideration. Michael was waiting for me at the front, nervous and smiling. When I saw him, everything else became smaller. Afterward, there was food, music, hugs, and photos in the garden. It rained for a while in the afternoon and they moved us under the canopy. Not everything went as planned, but we remember it fondly. The next day I uploaded some photos to Facebook and Instagram. Nothing exaggerated. Some pictures of the ceremony, the meal, Michael and I smiling, the garden, my uncle hugging me. The next morning I woke up and saw that my mom had flooded my posts with long, aggressive comments. She said I was flaunting my happiness to hurt Vanessa, that I was selfish, that my sister was doing worse because of my need to be the center of attention. Then she wrote that she was going to see what could be done legally. As if my wedding photos were an attack against Vanessa. I read everything while Michael made coffee. People were already replying, asking what was going on. A cousin wrote that it was not fair to do that on my photos. A friend of Michael's posted that this was not the place to argue. I did not reply, I did not defend myself, I did not explain, I did not engage. I deleted the comments, blocked my mom on all my social media. Then I blocked my dad and Vanessa. Left the phone face down on the table and went on with my day. A year has passed since then. I do not know how my parents are doing. I do not know what happened to Vanessa, and to be honest, I have not wanted to find out. Sometimes a relative tries to tell me something, but I change the subject. I do not think it is hate. I think I am just tired. Hearing about them almost always leaves me carrying emotions that do not belong to me. Michael and I are looking at houses. Nothing big, nothing perfect, just a place where we can start peacefully. We have also talked about having kids later on. When I think about that, I only know I do not want to repeat what I went through. I want that, if we ever have kids, they do not grow up measuring everything they do just so someone else does not get mad. Sometimes I still wonder if my parents ever think about me. If they will ever recognize everything they lost by choosing Vanessa time and time again. But I no longer live waiting for that answer. With that, I have been able to move on. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.